hundreds of years, humanity lived in a world where the measurement of time was not fixed, where it shifted from one land to another, from one geography to the next. Today, the entire planet moves according to time zones.
Sabahleyin.
Time first gathered in the clock tower, then in the factory whistle. Now in the notifications on our phones, in the brightness of the screen, in a continuity where the boundary between night and day has dissolved. The light in our room has severed our rhythm with the sun. Television, which spread after World War II, controlled our time for a while. However, mass control, as with everything, weakened, and now in big cities we are left alone with our individual agendas. As E.P. Thompson wrote in 1967, time became a commodity that could be bought and sold with factory discipline. Before that, time was social. Church bells, harvest cycles, phases of the moon. Afterwards, time became mechanized, along with the clocks hanging on factory walls. And now, in Yun-Chul Han's definition, in the burnout society, everyone is their own employer. We are in the age of self-exploitation. Now, time is phenomenon that has escaped into its own sovereignty for the middle class, even though it is managed by social networks. Life courts who regulate time, phone applications, and so much more. But outside this narrative, there are places where time still breathes, has not become a commodity, cannot be bought. I lived in one of those places for more than a month. If we count northern Thailand as well, I wandered around these areas for 2 months. From the places I visited, I want to focus particularly on northern Laos, because that place shows what I will tell in this video the best. rocky mountains of northern Laos, cities with no roads connected by rivers. That region mapped in James Scott's book The Art of Not Being Governed, where time flows not linear but cyclical. Lands where humans try not to dominate nature but to dance with it. Cyclical time versus linear time. What do these mean? What is linear time and cyclical time perception? People didn't always live time the way we perceive it today. In linear time, the moment is a bridge between past and future. Time flows like an arrow from the past to this moment and then towards the future. History is perceived as progress and development. Concepts like saving time, money being dependent on time, good use of time are all tied to this linear understanding of time. Debt is tied to time perception. Taken now on the condition of being paid in the future. Credit banking systems revolve around this, and practices are established that enslave every person and bind them to banking systems. Cyclical time, however, creates a completely different perception and set of practices from this. What I will say is difficult for all of us to feel. In cyclical time, the moment is complete in itself. It is not tied to any date or route. It is not part of any plan. Just this alone collapses nation states. The nation state is condemned to linear time. It produces consciousness with a history and prevents realities from being seen by constructing that consciousness with a future ideal. The real truth of the nation state is millions working for a handful of capitalists. But its ideals and plans flow from an all-time that it claims happened in the past, and it even constructs this towards the future, to hopes and ideals in the future. Yet the established past and future of linear time are both fictions. Official history and citizenship ideals are based on this fiction. When the fiction collapses, the reality is painful. A matrix connected to the lives of millions constantly sells them hope and reconstructs their minds. There is no such phenomenon in cyclical time. Time flows not like an arrow, but like a circle. Past, future, and present are together. The death in the past, as in many Asian beliefs, are connected to the moment and are within life. Plans for the future are not built on development. The moment becomes more real than the future and the past. The moment is not consumed for future purposes or under the dominion of the past's sultanate. Sigmund Freud completely collapses in cyclical time. The body works in harmony with nature's rhythm. Not history but repetition matters. Cycles produced by planting and harvest times through religion which answers the unknown reproduce all existence. This is much healthier than the reproduction of the state's ideological apparatuses because the myths establish a natural hegemony. Myths are real in cyclical time. Magic is science. People meet not at 3 o'clock, but when the sun is overhead. The future is uncertain, but this is not a problem, because the future is not an extension of now, but a new cycle. Actually, much less fear grips society than the future fears in linear time. In cycling time, the future is novelty. The Tet festival in Southeast Asia is exactly the celebration of this new cycle. Surplus product and production excess are therefore easily shared, because the new future cycle is independent of the previous one. It doesn't progress like an arrow, and it's not tightly bound to anyone. There are no future plans. There is prayer. Let's think of Eliot's eternal return terminology. Mircea Eliot says, in the myth of the eternal return, modern humans think history is once only. What happens will not happen again. Therefore, every moment is unique and losable. This creates anxiety. But in cyclical time, everything repeats. Seasons, the moon, migrations, festivals, this repetition is not boring in the modern sense. It is reassuring. The world is familiar, predictable, not ownable, but livable within. According to James Scott, the mountainous regions of Southeast Asia, Zomia, are a huge laboratory that has resisted state formation for 2,000 years. The Hmong, Kumu, Akha, and other tribes. They are not backward. They are communities that consciously choose to remain backward. Because state means efficiency. Efficiency means record keeping. Record keeping means tax. Tax means the commodification of labor. All of these mean an exploitation system under the name of citizenship or subjecthood. State means plunder and exploitation. However, this becomes normalized like the concept of time and cannot be questioned by most people. Pierre Cloustier's sharp observation in his work Society Against the State comes to mind. Some societies destroy the state, others never give birth to it. The montane communities of northern Laos are of the latter. They never established a state. On the contrary, their ancestors are people who fled from states. Chieftaincy institutions were deliberately kept weak. Leadership is temporary, voluntary, and reversible. Accumulation is not welcomed. Hierarchy melts away among the mountains, valleys, and distant paths. Of course, these qualities were seen much more clearly 150 years ago. When you travel here today, you feel this information, but you also see that these perceptions and ways of life are disappearing. Here, even agriculture has changed shape to avoid being seen by the state's eye, and you see this when you look at the files. Rice terraces are too fragmented to be managed from a single center. Crop diversity exists not for efficiency but for resilience. If one crop doesn't grow, another does. History and anthropology viewed these societies as failed for a long time. They read it as failure and inadequacy to establish a state. However, today those who have deepened in social sciences have seen that this is not the case at all. Here live the grandchildren of people who preferred not to establish a state as a requirement of their ancestors, culture of rebellion against the state. This is not a failure, it's a conscious and strategic choice. As Scott says, mountain life is a rejection of state project on the flat plain. Marcel Shahlin's famous observation in his book Stone Age Economics: Stone Age people enriched themselves by keeping their needs few. This idea of the original affluent society still breathes a little in the mountain villages of northern Laos. Enriching oneself by keeping needs few. What an alien type of wealth this is to today. A type that many people cannot feel and understand. Think of nation-state dictators. What would these people understand from enriching oneself by keeping needs few? Capitalist time lives with anxiety about the future. With accumulation greed, with efficiency obsession, mountain time flows differently, here and now. As David Graeber tells in his book Debt, in these societies there is no concept of debt. Debt is the shadow that the future casts upon today. When there is no debt, time also ceases to be linear. It becomes cyclical again. Time of crops, time of the moon, time of rain, time of festivals. A concept from Ivan Illich's work, Tools for Conviviality, comes to life here. Tools that are used transform the user. In human perception, time is a tool. Perhaps the tool that transforms humans at the highest rate is time itself. The tool is northern Laos. Hand tools, seeds, water channels preserve human autonomy, not mechanization but embodiment. Life and time according to the body, not according to the machine. Moreover, today the machine is that too. According to digital is nothing. Digital, it is nothing. In a period where digital has swallowed body and time, what can be understood from enriching oneself by keeping needs few? This is another order where labor is not measured by the clock, where digital does not occupy free time, where the rhythm of the body is in harmony with the rhythm of work. Jung-Chul Han's performance society doesn't work here. Like Freud, he too collapses. Because performance wants comparison. It wants competition. It wants the digital panopticon. In the mountains, what the neighbor does not determine your efficiency. Therefore, you don't envy them, you support them. Mutual aid systems emerge. Everyone's time is measured by their own soil, their own crop, their own breath, but this breath is collective. Sylvia Federici's emphasis in her book Caliban and the Witch on Commons. That is common property. In northern Laos, water, forest, and hunting lands are still part of common life. Resource management rules that operate outside the state and market still live here. No one owns, but everyone is responsible. Let us recall Marcel Mauss's basic observation in his work, The Gift. The gift is not exchange. It establishes relationship, creates bond. In mountain villages, the economy is built on reciprocity. Barter and exchange systems continue alongside money, albeit less. Today you give rice to your neighbor, tomorrow they bring you bamboo. But this is not a debt. This is invisible social fabric that ensures the continuation of life. The gift still produces healthy relationships where money does not enter, cannot enter. People connect to each other like this. Civilization is the condition of humans breaking away from nature and being fed to the Leviathan, that is, the gigantic state machine. Civilization is the condition where minds are the state, not the individual. But in northern Laos, the claw of the Leviathan, especially in the past, is loose. The mountains are too steep for the state's army to reach. And sometimes the geography of freedom is hidden exactly in this steepness. So what does all this tell us? Let us answer with this sentence from David Graeber's book, Fragments of an Anarchist Anthropology. Anarchist anthropology shows that humans can live differently. And we must show this, because capitalism presents itself to us as the only option. Yet it's not an option, but a barbaric necessity that consumes existence and humans. The mountain villages and northern Laos show us not backwardness, but another experience of time. Another existence possibility where time has not become a commodity, where labor is not sold, where humans stand on their own feet. Misty mountains, flowing rivers, rice fields are misting, villagers are gathering food in the rivers, and some people still live their time according to the sun.
How are you? Okay? Sabaydi. Thank you. Cup chai.
These ideas repeatedly in books, archives, and academic journals. Thompson wrote about the disciplining of time. James Scott mapped the geography of refusal. Graeber described worlds existing beyond debt and obligation. Marcel Mauss showed the place of gift and status within these relationships. I knew the arguments, I knew the theories, yet theories possess a peculiar limitation. Yes, they allow us to understand the world more clearly, and in the darkness of the unknown they can serve as lanterns. But the sun rises only when one stands before a landscape, a river, a mountain, or a face, when something new confronts you directly and immediately. No lantern is ever equivalent to the sun. Somewhere in northern Laos, those pages began to speak. Books speak more clearly when they encounter reality. This I now know not merely intellectually, but through experience. Not because Laos exists outside history or capitalism. It doesn't, and of course it does not. But some traces remain here with greater intensity and greater force, in people's slaughter, in a woven basket, or in a nature that has not yet been fully colonized. Some rhythm remain, the traces or other relationships with the remain. Eventually, I left those mountains behind, but the questions that had occupied my mind for so many years refused to remain there. Even so, they had become quiet.
Fakat belli bir zaman sonra daha çok önemli bürokratik ya da din adamlarına ya da krallara, kralların ölülerine adanmış bir eser olarak karşımıza çıkıyor.